Out front now, Natalie Jackson, an attorney for Trayvon Martin's family. And Natalie, you know, obviously you could hear. I want to talk about one of the contradictions, the crucial ones, in a moment. But first, you know, how did Rachel perform? What do you learn from this? I mean, yes, she was there giving her side of things. She was, though, at times mumbling, difficult to understand, appeared a little confused. All in, was this a win for you?
Well, I mean, the question is kind of a two-part question. How did she perform? Just from an emotional standpoint, you know, I think that if you're evaluating that, she didn't do well. But how did she perform as far as her testimony? It was consistent with what she said before. The only thing the defense could impeach her on was two inconsistencies with her going to the hospital and about her age. But her story has remained consistent, and we didn't see the defense touch that today.
All right, and obviously that's key, and I got to say, and a very honest evaluation there from Natalie Jackson. But Natalie, let's talk about that inconsistency, because I do want to ask you about it. We've talked about it before. Rachel lied under oath about her whereabouts during Trayvon Martin's family. She'd originally said she was in the hospital. We later learned that was a lie. She was not in the hospital. And today, when they asked her why she lied, she said she didn't want to see the body because she just talked to him. I guess it was too hard for her, was the implication. But why should the jury trust her now after a lie as significant as attending his funeral?
Well, I think that if you're asking me personally, why should the jury trust her? Because it has nothing to do with the prima facie case. But, you know, a jury, they're going to be instructed that they can take what they want from her testimony. They can discount it totally or take bits and pieces of it. Here, I think she gave a great explanation about why she lied. She said that she didn't want to face Sabrina Fulton. And she said that it was heavy on her heart and she didn't want to see this dead body. This girl is 19 years old. She has been harassed for a year and a half by people who don't know her. She's been called everything but a mother of God, I mean a child of God. So, you know, she's 19. No, she didn't testify the way that we would like her to, but she was real and she was honest.
All right, and one other thing I want to ask you before we move on from her to something George Zimmerman said that I thought could have been really problematic, was Rachel was agitated, especially during the cross-examination. And at that time, she said Trayvon had used a racial slur to describe George Zimmerman to her. Now, you just pointed out the jury could take some parts of her testimony, none or all, but are you concerned about that specific moment when she said Trayvon used a racial slur himself?
Well, honestly, I was when I heard the first racial slur, but when I heard the second one, she said she categorized Zimmerman with two different opposing racial slurs. I'll say she used a C word and an N word, which let me know that for Trayvon using these words, he was categorizing either both of those words in a term that it was somebody he didn't like, this creepy guy. So, you know, the jury's going to take all that into consideration. I don't know what they're going to do with it, but when I say that she's honest, she was honest. When she was asked, did she lie about going to the hospital, she said yes.
All right. Let me ask you now about something George Zimmerman did. He had made non-emergency 911 calls to police before this night. And obviously, this could be seen in a couple of ways. It could be seen as an overzealous guy who was trigger happy, or a guy who was trying to do his best, an upstanding citizen. I wanted to play one of those calls from August 3rd, 2011 for you, Natalie.
Our neighborhood got burglarized or robbed today. And my wife, I saw one of the kids that did it, and we see someone that matches his description in the neighborhood right now again.
Stand-up community watchman or overzealous trigger-happy watchman?
I will tell you, there's a difference between being a vigilant neighbor and a vigilante. And here, clearly, Trayvon was doing nothing wrong, and he was talking on the phone. We have testimony, we have phone records. And he was killed. This is this case would not be hard if the roles were reversed, and there was a black neighborhood watch guy who killed a 17-year-old teenager. No one would say this was a hard case.
All right, Natalie Jackson, thank you. It's always good to talk to you, and I appreciate your time tonight.